Hey, what's up, gamers? And well, today we're looking at another game that I anticipated for 2016, and that is Doom. The one I have, of course, is the one on PlayStation 4, and it is also available on Xbox One and PC as well. But obviously, I went for the PS4 version because, well, that's the console I have, and I usually avoid PC versions. So let's get to it. But before we get to the game, might I address the title, Doom? Now, yeah, of course there was Doom, the original game, which was on PC and then eventually ported to Super Nintendo and then a bunch of other consoles here and there. And then there was Doom 2, and there was Doom 3, and then there was Doom 3 Resurrection of Evil and so forth. And then Doom. What is up with these titles? And I know I'm going to try to keep this name nitpicking to a minimal, but yeah, a little background information. There was actually a game entitled Doom 4. Well, that's actually what this game really is. Sort of a reboot sequel, if you really think about it. But after years and years of production hell, this is what we eventually got, and it's what eventually it came down to. So, now that that's out of the way, let's get to the gameplay. So, yes, it is, of course, a sequel slash reboot. And what do you know, the game has received nothing but positive reactions, but I myself was a little iffy and skeptical on this game, especially after seeing all the E3 trailers and YouTube trailers and so forth, and honestly, I didn't like the look of it. It looked too different. I mean, yeah, I know, of course it's going to be more superior compared to Super Nintendo graphics, and anybody can agree. The first one on Super Nintendo, it looked amazing for the time, but that was back in the 90s. This is obviously beyond 21st century. This is 2016, so obviously expect the graphics to be superior. And first-person shooters were kind of a new thing back then, but today, they're everywhere. I mean, you got Call of Duty, Halo, the list goes on and on right there. So, honestly, this one didn't really look like it sticked out too much. It looked pretty much like it blended in with all the rest of the first-person shooters. But, boy, how wrong I was to judge it. After all the positive, or I should say critical acclaim that this game got, praising the graphics and gameplay and nods to the original games, which I worried the game would have lacked, but thankfully, how wrong I was. This game was not only awesome graphic-wise, but it had plenty of nods to the original. Now, obviously, shall I get to the gameplay? Of course it's a first-person shooter, though there's not all the things that you remember from the original one, like the little face that nods back and forth, depending on how much health you lost. Kind of miss that little face, when he gets angry and then when he's in pain, and then all of a sudden you die and everything turns all red. So, yeah, they had to make a few changes here and there. But of course, just like the games, and yeah, like that crappy movie that came out many years ago, of course, you're on Mars, or Hell, whatever. And you're playing as a guy, and yeah, it sort of does look like a male version of Samus, sort of, right, doesn't it? Judging by the cover. And, of course, you get weapons. You get your basic handgun, you get the shotgun, you get machine guns, you get rocket launchers, Gatling guns, and so forth. Yeah, there's a ton of weapons in this game, so obviously the more you progress in the game, you get more of them. And what do you know, you gotta shoot your way through enemies. Yeah, it starts out easy like you'd expect, and you gotta, of course, collect cards. Different colored ones, that is. And, of course, the game gets harder and harder as you progress. So, yeah, of course, as the game progresses, you're gonna fight your way through an onslaught of enemies, just like you remember in the original games. It's a fast-paced game, and you gotta fight your way through enemies, so, yeah, it can get tough. And unlike Call of Duty or pretty much any other first-person shooter where your health can regenerate like a regular Wolverine, for Christ's sake, this game, sadly, it doesn't. So, yeah, if you played the original Doom game, nothing's changed from then on. And the levels, and the variety, and all the graphics, I mean, it's just great. So, yeah, what do you expect? It's not exactly the most riveting-looking locations. I mean, first you're on labs and outside on Mars. I mean, of course it's going to look like you're on Hell. What do you expect? It's called Doom. The other games weren't exactly riveting locations, but this is more superior graphics. And yeah, I mean, it's just great. Yeah, you got the simple enemies to get through. The simple small guys that jump around, easy to get through. Yeah, these guys are pretty much a pushover. I'm talking grunts from Halo pushover. You don't even have to waste your ammunition. It's probably in your best interest just to melee attack them until they're down. That's pretty much what it means when they start flashing this color. But the bigger enemies, that's where you want to save your ammunition for. But you can melee attack pretty much every enemy, but they take a lot more damage in order to be able to do that. But the melee attacks are pretty cool to look at. I mean, they're all different in their own unique way, and they're all really creative. Yeah, take that. Yeah, it's so awesome.
And as you can tell, you got most of the familiar enemies in this game making a return.
We got guys who throw stuff at you, spit fire at you. You got guys with guns, of course. You got those big, floating guys that look like heads that float with devil horns on them. All the great stuff you remember is all there. So yeah, a lot of great nods. And now for the homages. Yes, you've all heard, of course, that this game has secret homages where if you come across secret parts in the game, you can pull a lever. I'm not going to get into detail. Just look online for it.
You can access a secret room that's old school style from Doom 1 and 2. Yeah, it's pretty short and small, and most of the time they don't really have enemies, but once you unlock them, you can go to the main menu screen and actually play the full version of that level, like I said, from Doom 1 or 2. Though it's not completely an old school 16-bit, some of the enemies and weapons and stuff and so forth is, well, kind of a mix of the new graphics and old school graphics, but hey, it's a nice nod right there.
Not to mention, yeah, the single player mode is pretty long. And the only thing I really don't like about it, aside from the fact that even though it does have various difficulties, yeah, like I said, you're going to fight your way through an onslaught of enemies to get through these levels. And, well, you're not going to be able to, enter different doors until you beat them all. So, yeah, welcome to hell there, buddy. You got to fight your way through, otherwise you're a dead man. And, of course, you got to get armor, health back. So every enemy you kill, of course, you get health. And some of these enemies can be pretty tough, let me tell you. Not to mention you also get the return of all the superior weapons that you can upgrade. You can upgrade your armor, health, carry more ammo. Because, yeah, of course, you're only limited to how much ammo you can carry. And, hell, you even get the freaking chainsaw back. And, of course, you got to keep track of how much gasoline you're using on the thing. Because, yeah, the sucker runs on gas. What else do you expect? Of course it's going to take a realistic approach. But it's so much fun taking these enemies out with a chainsaw. Yeah, I'm the Lord of the Harvest. Yeah, it's so much fun going all out Leatherface on end.
Also what returns is those little orb things, the berserk things that you can just pretty much take enemies out, any enemy out, with your bare hands. Ooh, yeah, it's cool. Ooh, take that. And there's a few others too as well. So, and they're helpful. And you also get grenades too. 3 different types to be exact.
But the one thing I really suck at in this, aside from playing it on a harder difficulty, are the jumps. Yeah, if you suck at jumping, which of course you start out earlier in the game with regular jumping, and then you go on to upgrade to double jumping, yeah, you're probably going to miss a couple of platforms and kind of get lost along the way as well. Because you do have to figure out where you have to go and so forth. Because, yeah, of course it's mostly, well, it's linear, but you got to figure out, of course it's a maze like any of the other Doom games. So, yeah, you got to figure out where the hell you got to go. So, as I said, welcome to hell. Try to get out of it. Fight your way through.
Oh, and did I mention I suck at time trials? Yeah. I've been only able to complete 1. The rest of them, yeah, screw them to hell. I suck at them. You can access them to various parts of the game during the single player mode or the main menu screen. But yeah, as I said, screw these.
So, yep. You get boss fights, and some of them can be pretty damn hard. This son of a bitch took me various tries to get through. As well as this asshole. Boy. And yeah, spoiler alert, this is the last guy. So, the single player campaign mode can seem tough, but in general, I was pretty satisfied with it. It had a great amount of violence as well as old school homages and great amount of horror and gore. It's very well satisfying. Now that I got that out of the way, onto the multiplayer. Yes, of course, it wouldn't be a PS4 or Xbox One game without multiplayer. Online, that is, of course, since it's not a Nintendo Wii U game. What do you know? It's basically like Call of Duty. That's because it is. You could choose Team Deathmatch, any of the types of gameplay that you expect. Just shooting people online or teaming up with people, shooting people. My favorite's obviously Team Deathmatch, and after a while I kind of got used to it, but I kind of suck at it, so what do you expect? I like the rocket launchers, you can choose grenades. Yeah, you get all that cool stuff in this game. You can upgrade yourself and become a monster. Hell, that's freaking awesome. And basically, obviously, the first team to score, I believe, 75, that is obviously the winner. So, yeah, it's all about upgrading, even if you lose, typical Call of Duty style gameplay, as I said before. And as well as Snap Map mode. What the hell is that? I have no idea. Oh, it's basically you can take courses, like online courses that is, the kind that you see in this game, and customize them and send them out to people. That's why it's an online thing. Oh, sort of like Mario Maker kind of? Wow. Hopefully more games follow through with that idea as well. Maybe more Nintendo games, for example, or well, pretty much any game should. But that's a great idea.
Yeah, you could take anything. Create your own map, monsters, put items, guns, anything in there. Create your own different type of difficulty, type of gameplay, anything. Hell, you can even take on people's challenges online. I mean, that's freaking awesome. Though does get a little bit awkward trying to move around the whole map. I don't know if it's just me, but yeah, it's just a little iffy trying to move around and everything. So yeah, it takes a little getting used to, but after a while, it's really fun.
So overall, Doom may be a hard game, not really for everybody, but out of all the first-person shooter games that I played in the past, like Call of Duty and pretty much most of these game series are getting run into the ground by making one every single year, but these are so well spaced out. In fact, yeah, this is technically the fourth one, unless you count, Resurrection of Evil, the third Doom, that is, as its own game. But honestly, after all the skepticism that I had of this game, and, well, initially being iffy on buying it after its release date, but I can definitely say I'm pretty well satisfied. In fact, I'm more than satisfied on this one. It's a trip to hell worth taking. So, my final verdict is a Rockin' Wii Motion Plus up and a plain Wii Remote up. Hope that's not too harsh. So, till next time, happy gaming.